Every mechanic keeps a short list in his head. The trucks he'd buy tomorrow with his own money, no hesitation. And I promise you it looks nothing like the shiny row of leases the salesman walks you past. The truth is, the cheapest trucks on the lot are often the ones built to outlive everything parked next to them. They just don't have the badge that makes people feel important. I've spent over 2 decades under these things, elbow deep in what actually breaks and what never does. So today I'm handing you that list. 7 pickups a broke man can buy and drive for the next 15 years. Number 1 is the truck I'd bet my own paycheck on. Let's get into it. Quick ground rule before we start. When I say run forever, I mean 250,000 miles and up on nothing exotic. Oil, filters, brakes, a belt, or a chain when it's due. Not a rebuild. Not a transmission gamble. Just a truck that keeps starting. Every single one of these has earned that in my bay, not in a brochure. Number 7, the Ford Ranger. This is the truck I point broke college kids and first job guys toward, and they always look disappointed until about year 3 when they realize they've spent almost nothing. The old Ranger, the 3rd generation body from 1998 to 2011, is one of the most honest vehicles Ford ever built. And right now, you can find a clean one for $4,000 to $8,000, which in today's market is basically free. Here's what matters under the hood. You want the 2.3-liter Duratec 4-cylinder or the 3-liter Vulcan Vi6. The Duratec runs a timing chain, sips fuel, and I have personally seen these things clear 250,000 miles on a service history that was basically an oil change whenever the guy remembered. The 3-liter Vulcan is not powerful, everybody admits that, but it is stone simple and it just does not quit. There's a reason people call the Ranger a forever truck. One warning, and this is the whole game with Rangers. The 4.0-liter SOHC-V6 has a known weakness in the timing chain tensioners, and they live at the back of the engine. If one of those wears out and starts rattling, you ignore it at your own peril because a skipped chain on that motor can grenade it. So if you're shopping, start the truck cold and listen. A rattle from the front or rear of the engine on the 4.0 is a walkaway or a heavy negotiation. On the Duratec and the Vulcan, that whole worry disappears. Who should buy it? Anyone who needs a truck-shaped tool and doesn't need to tow a house. It's small, it's cheap to insure, parts are everywhere, and a shade tree mechanic can fix almost anything on it in a driveway. Who should skip it? If you're hauling heavy every weekend, this isn't your rig. But as a first truck that refuses to die, nothing this cheap comes close. Number 6. The Chevy Silverado 1500 and its twin, the GMC Sierra. Specifically, I want you looking at the 1999 to 2006 models with the 5.3-liter Vortec V8, not the fancy ones. The plain Jane work trucks. These sell all day long for $8,000 to $14,000, and the engine in them is one of the great bargains in the entire used market. Let me get specific, because this is where people mess up. The engine you want is the iron block 5.3-liter, known by the code LM7, part of General Motors Gen 3 small block family. This is LS architecture. Same bones as the engine's hot rodders swap into everything with wheels. It is a pushrod V8, dead simple, iron block, and it routinely runs 250,000 to 400,000 miles with nothing but maintenance. I had a customer's 2003 Sierra come through my shop last year with 291,000 on the original long block. Original. It burned a little oil and the interior was a disaster, but that motor pulled like the day it left the factory. Now here's the part nobody tells you, and it is the reason I gave you those exact years. Avoid the later Gen 4 5.3-liter engines with active fuel management, that cylinder deactivation system. Those developed a nasty reputation for collapsed lifters and oil consumption, and there was a whole class action settlement over the piston rings on the 2011 to 2014 versions. The early iron block LM7 does not have any of that. No cylinder deactivation, no variable valve timing, nothing to fail. That is why the old one is the smart money pick. When you inspect three things: pull the oil cap and look for sludge, because a neglected GM Vi8 tells on itself fast. Second, these use a fuel pressure regulator that is a known weak point. A rough idle or hard start could be that, and it is a cheap fix, maybe a couple $100. Third, the NOx sensors sit down in the valley under the intake and can get water intrusion, so a persistent check engine light there is common and not a deal breaker. Who should buy it? Anybody who wants a real full-size V8 truck for the price of a used economy car and does not care about looking new. This is the definition of a poor man's workhorse. Number 5. The Nissan Frontier. This is the most ignored, reliable truck in America, and I mean that. Everybody worships the Tacoma, and I get it, we'll get there. But the Frontier from 2005 to 2019 runs almost the identical playbook for thousands less because the badge doesn't carry the same tax. You can grab a solid one for $10,000 to $16,000. The engine is the 4.0-liter V6-coated VQ40DE, and it's basically a stretched version of the same VQ family Nissan has been building and refining since the 90s. It's naturally aspirated, no turbo to fail, an aluminum block with variable valve timing, and it makes a genuinely strong 261 to 276 horsepower. These motors clear 200,000 miles constantly, and the design barely changed for 15 years, which is exactly what you want in a used truck. When a manufacturer stops fiddling with something, it's usually because it works. But I'm going to be straight with you because that's the whole point of this channel. The early ones, 2005 to 2010, have two issues you must check for. First, the timing chain guides and tensioners on those years can wear, and you'll hear it as a whine that grows into a rattle. Borg-Warner had a stamping problem on the upper chains that would slowly cut through the plastic tensioner. Nissan quietly improved the design around 2011, so a truck made after 2011 is the safer bet. Second, and this is the big one, automatic transmissions from 2005 to 2010 have a radiator with an internal transmission cooler that can rupture and mix coolant into your transmission fluid. The forums call it the strawberry milkshake of death. Pull the transmission dipstick. If the fluid looks pink and milky, run. Third thing, unrelated to the engine, these trucks, like a lot of Nissans and Toyotas of the era, can rust at the frame in salt states. There was even a recall on the earlier ones. Get underneath and poke the rear frame rails and the spring mounts. Do all that, and what you've got is a Tacoma tough drivetrain at a discount nobody's paying attention to. That's the whole pitch. Number 4, the old Ford F-150 with the 4.9-liter inline-six. This one's a unicorn, and if you find a clean one, you buy it. I'm talking the F-150s built through 1996 with the 300 cubic inch straight six, the 4.9-liter. This is the poorest of the poor man's trucks because you can find these for $2,000 to $6,000, and the engine is a documented legend. Why do mechanics love the 306 so much? Because it was built for punishment. 7 main bearings on the crankshaft, a low revving design that makes its torque right off idle, and an intake and layout so simple you can practically fix it with a butter knife. Ford didn't just put these in pickups. They put them in delivery trucks, industrial equipment, irrigation pumps, things that idle for a living. That's the pedigree. It is genuinely common to see these past 300,000 miles, and plenty have gone way beyond on original internals. The catch is honesty about what it is. It's slow. It's thirsty by modern standards. The truck around it is 30 years old, so you are buying a maintenance relationship, not a finished product. And rust is your real enemy here, not the engine. So the body and frame matter more than anything mechanical. When you look at one, honestly, spend more time under it than in it. Check the frame, the cab corners, the bed floor, the rockers. A rust-free 306 F-150 with a straight body is worth chasing across the state because the drivetrain will outlast you. If it's a rust bucket, walk, no matter how good the motor sounds. Who should buy it? A tinkerer, a farmhand, a guy who wants a beater that starts at 40 below and never leaves him stranded. It's the definition of cheap and immortal. Number 3. The Dodge Ram 2500 with the 5.9-liter Cummins. Now we're getting serious. This is the one truck on the list that isn't dirt cheap, but it earns its spot because Run Forever was practically invented for this engine. And a rough around the edges one is still within reach of a working man, usually in the 15 to 25,000 range, depending on year and condition. The engine is the 5.9-liter Cummins inline-6 turbo diesel, and the holy grail is the 12-valve version built from 1989 to 1998. Cast iron block, forged crank with 7 main bearings, gear-driven cam, mechanical Bosch injection. On the early ones, the motor will literally keep running with the battery disconnected. That's how simple it is. Cummins has an actual million-mile club, and it is not some exclusive thing. One owner took a 2000 Ram 3500 to over 2.5 million miles. Not a typo. It is routine for a well-kept 5.9 to see 500,000 miles before it ever needs to come apart. But you don't buy a Cummins blind, so here's your homework. On the 12-valve, ask about the killer dowel pin, the KDP. There's a little alignment pin in the front of the block that can vibrate loose over the years and drop into the timing gears, and if it does, it can wreck the front of the engine. It's a cheap preventative fix, and almost every serious owner has done it. So ask. If they've never heard of it, budget to do it immediately. On the later 24-valve, some from 1999 to 2001 trucks use the so-called 53 block that is prone to cracking, and the VP44 injection pump is a known weak point. And of course, these are old Dodges, so frame and body rust and cracked exhaust manifolds are worth a look. Handle those, and you own a truck that tows like a freight train and pulls forever while barely flinching. If you actually need to haul heavy and you want to do it once and never buy another truck, this is the one. Number 2, the first-generation Toyota Tundra. The 2000 to 2006 Tundra with the 4.7-liter V8 is, in my honest opinion, one of the most bulletproof trucks ever sold in this country. And it still hides under the radar because everybody is chasing the newer 5.7-liter V8s. You can find a clean first generation for anywhere from $10,000 to $18,000, and people who own them do not let them go cheap for a reason. The engine is the 4.7-liter V8, code 2 UZFE. Toyota gave it a cast iron block instead of aluminum specifically for durability, and it shows. The non-problem average lifespan on these is right around 300,000 miles, and that is the boring outcome. There are documented first-generation Tundras that have crossed 1 million miles. When these trucks were new, Toyota was so confident they openly invited owners to write in if they hit 100,000 or 200,000 miles on the original drivetrain. That is not marketing fluff. That is a company that knew what it built. Here's the one thing you cannot ignore, and it's the reason some people are scared of these. The 2UZ uses a rubber timing belt, not a chain, and it needs replacing every 90,000 miles, or roughly every 7 years, whichever comes first. On the 2005 and up models with variable valve timing, that engine is an interference design, which means if the belt snaps, the pistons meet the valves, and you've got a very expensive morning. So this is non-negotiable maintenance. The smart move, and what I tell every customer, is to do the water pump, tensioner, and idler pulleys at the same time as the belt, because you're already in there and the labor is the expensive part. 2 more inspection notes. The first generation Tundras from 2000 to 2003 had a frame rust recall, so verify that history. And these can develop small cracks where the exhaust manifolds meet the heads, which you'll hear as a tick on cold start. Neither is a deal killer if you know going in. Get one with a documented recent belt service and a solid frame, and you've bought a truck that will genuinely see the far side of 250,000 miles without drama. If this straight talk is saving you from a bad purchase, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I put out these breakdowns constantly, the trucks dealers push versus the ones that actually make sense. Which brings us to number 1. Number 1, the Toyota Tacoma. You knew it was coming, and there is a reason it is the truck I recommend more than any other when somebody asks me what to buy and keep for 15 years. The Tacoma isn't on this list because it is trendy. It is here because in over 2 decades of turning wrenches, it is the single truck I see roll in with astronomical mileage and nothing actually wrong with it, more than any other nameplate on this list. Let me tell you about the customer who tried to argue me out of one. A couple years back, a guy in his 30s came in dead set on a lifted domestic half-ton, big payments, big fuel bills. He needed reliable transportation to a job site, not a status symbol, and I told him so. I walked him over to a plain 2010 Tacoma on a nearby lot, a 4.0-liter V6, 140,000 miles, asking around $15,000. He scoffed at the price. It has 140,000 miles. I told him that on a Tacoma, 140,000 is barely broken in. He bought it. Texted me a year later, 0 repairs. His words, I can't believe I almost didn't. Here's why I trust them. The first generation Tacomas ran the 3.4-liter V6, code 5VZFE, and the 2.7-liter 4-cylinder. The second generation, from 2005 to 2015, brought the 4.0-liter V6, code 1GRFE. All of them are naturally aspirated, all-chain or proven belt-driven depending on the motor, and all of them are built with that low stress, over-engineered Toyota philosophy where nothing is pushed to its limit. That's the secret. It is not magic. It is margin. These trucks are not wringing every last horsepower out of a tiny turbo motor, so nothing wears out early. Owners telling stories about 300,000 miles with no major work is not rare with a Tacoma. It is the norm. That's exactly why they hold value so stubbornly, the famous Tacoma tax. You pay more up front than the badge would suggest, and you pay less over the entire life of the truck. Do that math, and the Tacoma is often the cheapest truck to own, even though it's rarely the cheapest to buy. Now the honest part, because I won't sell you a fairy tale. The big Tacoma weakness was never the engine, it was the frame. Certain years had serious rust problems, so serious that Toyota ran an enormous frame replacement and buyback program. So when you inspect one, the frame is the whole ballgame. Get under it and check the rails, the cross members, and around the leaf spring mounts. Ask specifically whether the frame was ever inspected or replaced under Toyota's program, because a truck with a fresh frame is a gift. Second, some of the 2016 and up trucks drew complaints about the transmission's shifting behavior, more of an annoyance than a reliability killer, but test drive for it. And like every truck here, poke at the maintenance history and look for consistent oil changes. Who should buy a Tacoma? Honestly, almost anyone who wants one vehicle to carry them through the next decade and a half with the lowest total cost of ownership on this entire list. Commuters, tradesmen, weekend adventurers, first-time truck buyers who want to buy once and be done. Who should skip it? If you need to tow heavy, get the Tundra or the Cummins instead, because the Tacoma is a midsize and it knows it. And if you're strictly chasing the lowest purchase price today, the Ranger or the old F-150 will save you cash up front. But if you want the surest bet, the truck I'd hand my own kid, it's the Tacoma. Every time. So there's the list the dealership hopes you never see. The Ford Ranger, cheap and honest. The iron block Silverado, a bargain V8 workhorse. The overlooked Nissan Frontier, the immortal 306 F-150. The freight train Cummins Ram, the bulletproof first-generation Tundra, and the Tacoma, the truck that simply refuses to wear out. Not one of these needs to be new to outlast something twice its price. Next time a salesman steers you toward a shiny lease return with a payment attached, you will know exactly what to ask for instead. If this helped, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will keep giving you the truth the dealerships will not. Take care of the truck, and it will take care of you. I will see you in the next one.